The 01J CVT transmission has been on the road since 2001 in Audi A4 and A6 vehicles, and they're coming into the shops with a variety of problems: differential failures, pump failures, main shaft mechanical torque sensor failures, to name a few. The most common complaint is delayed engagements or a shutter on takeoff. One reason for this is that the 01J does not use a conventional torque converter. So the computer utilizes a strategy that releases the forward or reverse clutch during stops and ramps it back on during acceleration. This makes clutch clearances and pressure containment critical. Excessive clutch clearances or hydraulic leaks will cause delayed engagements and or shutters on acceleration. And since forward stop and go occur more frequently than reverse, the forward clutch receives the most abuse and in time fails. The forward and reverse clutches are located behind this front cover as illustrated in Figure 1. The input shaft is pressed into a bearing and held in place with a circlip, so when the cover is removed, the forward drum and planetary assembly comes with it. With the cover removed, we can immediately see the reverse clutches. Up here in the case is the reverse clutch feed pipe and seal. You can accidentally install this seal backwards. Make sure the lip faces you. To get to the forward clutches, we have to press the input shaft and drum assembly out of the cover. To do this, we must first pull the forward clutch feed pipe out of the drum assembly. This will need to be inspected, so we will get back to this a little later on. Next, we remove the front seal, and behind this seal is the retaining circlip that needs to be removed. An exploded view of all of this can be seen in Figure 2. With the circlip removed, the input shaft and drum assembly can be pressed out of the cover. Be sure to support the cover properly, as it is very easy to snap it. With the input shaft and drum assembly pressed out of the cover, the forward clutch piston and pressure plate can be lifted off carefully by using two flathead screwdrivers. Here is the piston and the pressure plate. This seal and sealing surface is another critical area to be inspected. Next is the forward clutch stack-up. This is a 6 friction set, which will need to be updated to a 7 friction stack-up. With the clutches out of the drum, there comes into view, right over here, another critical seal for the forward clutch, which must be inspected. It is a solid Teflon ring with a rubber O-ring behind it. And it seals here on the pressure plate. No nicks or grooving should be in this surface area at all, otherwise the pressure plate will need to be replaced. In most cases, there is no need to disassemble the forward drum any further. In some cases, you may need to if these plastic bushings need to be replaced. Getting back to the forward clutch feed pipe that was pulled out of the drum assembly, there is an O-ring at one end and a split sealing ring at the other. These are also critical sealing points for forward clutch pressure and must be inspected. This split ring rides inside a seal located in what is called an entrainment pump and can be seen here looking through the front of the transmission, which is also shown in Figure 3. This sealing surface must be inspected for grooving, and if the split ring grooved this sealing surface, the entrainment pump will need to be replaced, which will require special tools or your own good imagination. First, the differential assembly will need to be removed. We then remove the rear case cover, where we can now remove the TCM and valve body, which I'm going to do next. Now that the TCM and valve body are removed, you will find pipe seals. And just like the reverse clutch feed pipe seal, make sure the lip faces out when installing them upon reassembly. We show you this in Figure 4. These speed sender wheels are not to be mistaken for oil seals, which are then popped off with a hammer and screwdriver. If you distort these speed sender wheels, they will need to be replaced. These speed senders have magnetic strips in them that provide a rotational signal to Hall effect sensors built into the TCM. Any distortion of the sender wheel will cause various transmission complaints, including delayed engagements, shutter on takeoff, and a loss of hill holding features. Some kits have mistakenly thought these were just oil seals and had aftermarket sources make them without magnets, and when used, there is a complete loss of a speed signal. Some kits that have the right sender wheels will usually have them in their own separate bag for protection. Once the pipe seals and speed sender wheels are removed, the Variator case cover can be unbolted and removed from the main case. To remove the variators to gain access to the entrainment pump, we will have to remove the pinion shaft oil seal as seen in Figure 5. After the seal has been removed, there is a retainer spacer that must be carefully lifted out of place. This retainer is not serviced separately, so you must be careful not to distort it during removal, as it must be reused during assembly. Once this retainer is removed, the retaining snap ring can be lifted out of place. Now the variator is ready to be removed. To remove the variator will require a metal brace and a hand pump press as seen in Figure 6. With the metal brace acting as a support, place the press between the support brace and pinion gear. Slowly press the shaft, carefully guiding the variator assembly from the main case. With the variator assembly removed, the entrainment pump becomes accessible for removal and replacement as shown in Figure 7. Over here is another very critical seal in the forward clutch circuit that will need to be replaced. It is located on the forward clutch feed pipe that runs from the valve body and fits into the entrainment pump, as you can also see in Figure 8. To install the variator assembly into the main case, carefully slide it into position as far as possible. With a threaded rod, screw it into the tip of the pinion shaft from the differential cavity. Slide a sleeve over the threaded rod and screw a nut onto the threaded rod as seen in Figure 9. With a wrench, slowly tighten the nut, pulling the pinion shaft into place, carefully guiding the variator assembly into the case as it's being pulled in. Before the assembly is all the way in, loosen the nut and pull back on the sleeve and place the snap ring and the retainer spacer into position. Then begin to tighten the nut, allowing the sleeve to guide both the snap ring and retainer into position. As mentioned previously, clutch clearance is critical. Originally, these units come with a 6 friction stack-up. There is an update that increased the stack-up to 7 friction trapezoid design plates. All necessary part numbers are listed under service information. Once the forward clutch is reassembled, a suitable tool or part number VW416B is used to push down on the pressure plate by a second technician as seen in Figure 10. Using part number T40102 or equivalent 58 thousandths feeler gauges, move the 2 feeler gauges back and forth to complete a full 360-degree circle as the arrows in Figure 10 illustrates. The entire circular area needs to be inspected. The 2 feeler gauges must always move freely without any resistance whatsoever. If the feeler gauges cannot move freely around the pressure plate, the forward clutch stack-up will need to be adjusted by changing the selected shims. It is essential to obtain a successful 58 thousandths clearance or slightly tighter all the way around the pressure plate, otherwise problems will be encountered when driving off from a standstill. After repairs, it is recommended to update transmission control module software. A failure to do so could lead to transmission failure, as the software update enhances pressure control and clutch control strategies. There is also a drive cycle shift adapt relearn procedure that has been known to work well when the clutch clearance has been made slightly tighter than original specifications. And you have all of this in your seminar handout material. Just one last comment. The front differential in the transmission receives approximately 1.3 liters of SAE 75W90 synthetic fluid and is filled through the check plug as seen here. The vehicle must be driven to heat the gear oil to approximately 60 degrees centigrade. Allow the vehicle to sit for 5 minutes, giving the gear oil time to settle. Remove the plug, and using a piece of wire, the fluid level must be approximately 8.5 millimeters below the fill hole. Top off as necessary and tighten the plug to 20 Newton meters. It is recommended that a new plug replace the old. It is very common to find differentials overheated and destroyed as a result of low levels. It seems that the baffling around the differential makes it difficult to get an accurate reading. Of course, Audi's awkward procedure for checking the gear oil level doesn't